3 wonderful pieces to consider in reflection on our first experience with Dynasty, perhaps, if you're taking the journey with me. Maybe some of you are informed listeners of theirs that advance me in terms of your fellowship and your understanding of their works and talents. I did dig back a bit in terms of, again, presenting a group that made sense to bring on the channel. There were enough routes paved, in particular to connection points, given notably they're from Nils Johan Molin, who I've been a fan of for a while. As I mentioned in entrance of this group, Ad Infinitum's collaboration of him via Chapter 2, the Afterlife song. I can't get enough of that one. It's so good of a work. If you've not humored it, I recommend it. Or Amaranth, right? A quick favorite of mine in the Swedish metal regard, alongside Dynasty, which is another Swedish rock group, again, of more of like a hard rock, heavy metal vein, of a power metal influence, and you can certainly hear that in their music. I love the pacing of these works. They're just so intense, but I knew it would be promising. Again, just on Nils's regard, the vocal delivery, he's impressed me so much. A favorite of mine among the European rock and metal foray, and there's many artists to consider in specific standing of who I've become quickly enamored by, but Nils is a particular favorite. And to be introduced to Dynasty with such wonderful pieces, Breathe With Me, The Grey, and In the Arms of a Devil. That last one was quite strong. And we're going to sum up our run through of this initial album with FIRESIGN. But it won't be the last step we take for sure. Many of you I'm sure are aware in regards to music coverage, what I've highlighted on the channel. I like to get an expansive perspective and dig back, especially to give artists, maybe the showcase they deserve. For, whatever perspective, right, that we approach as listeners. Whoever you happen to be, and I know there are probably more of you that fit this billing, right? And I welcome your company, long-standing fans that advance me, or maybe you're like me, and this is a fresh entrance for you. Maybe you've heard the name Dynasty, you haven't looked further, maybe this is a complete, new presence. I hope you're inspired to dig deeper in terms of just expanding your perspective in terms of great art in the music world abroad, and Europe always impresses. I can't say that enough. Many of you know how much of the space I cannot get enough of. Just in general with music, right? It's a first love of my life. It's been for many years. And I love being able to showcase that type of devotion and reverence and the possibility of it. In just allowing for mutual experiences where we enjoy good work together and good art. And there hasn't been one artist or song that I've not enjoyed highlighting on the channel. All have been quite adept. Dynasty as well. Great intrusion. I love humoring them and spotlighting their capabilities. And I hope you enjoyed the experience that we've had together thus far, and one that will not end yet. I've got a number of videos planned for them. In fact, I've expanded even since last night, since I started coverage of them. I've added on a couple. I'm certainly paving a good, perception for you if you happen to be a first entrance, and I'm sure FIRESIGN will delight. Again, if you're a metal fan, right, and you like a hard rock route, they've got that. If you're into power metal, and that's a particular subset of metal that you find favored with you, I happen to like it. I'm much more like a symphonic guy in terms of primary favorability, but I welcome power metal. I've covered many groups that fit that billing that are quite good, including Dynasty. They're the newest edition. I hope you enjoy them as much as I do. So, we're going to be introduced together simultaneously to FIRESIGN, the title track on the album. That shows some promise. Let's go ahead and humor this work together. I love the emphasis again of electronic technological sound effects in Swedish music. There's so many groups that kind of follow along one another. It's a common thing. But then again, you have that metal foundation that's a little stronger where the electronic emphasis interweaves as a additional characteristic and another layer. I like that balance. Broad appeal with beautiful delivery. Good background synths. I love the subtlety. Good mapping, beautiful pacing on the vocals, great syncopation. Oh, this is a chorus, okay. Nice key change, by the way. Great drive here. Nils always impressive. And we jump back into that original origin beat and key pattern. That's good. And again, how the electronic side is really subtle with this piece. Great mix. Usually it's a little more dominant. So this is a nice departure. This interlude section is fantastic. The background vocal placement works so well. Really, it's so good. Normal for them in terms of the past experiences have taken on the Dynasty route, right? They have the instrumental guitar break, pretty typical among like many rock groups, so it feels well placed. Familiar, right? It gives a nice point of location, I think, for anybody who's, you know, a fresh entrance, or maybe you're familiar with other rock and metal landscapes. So if this is your first European foray, it's a good reminder, and a good connection trigger point. I'm loving the background synth application here. That is so different with this song in comparison to many other Swedish metal songs that utilize a similar intrusion. I love whenever he nears a higher inflection, and Niels can go exquisitely far with his voice, if he chooses to. See? I forgot to regard this in previous coverage. My second ever group with, I believe, what is their name? Let me get this right. I mean, I can tell by the logo it's a similar presence from what I've seen previously. I think it's AFM Records. They happen to be the other label associated as well with Metalite, another favorite of mine in the Swedish route. It's interesting to investigate they're more like along the, I would say, I think they're credited as modern metal. They're kind of like an electronic metal, pop metal type group. Good mix of songs as well in terms of application. I love Metalite. Big fan. And their lead vocalist, just like Nils, Erika Olsson, love her. Sweden is a hot spot in particular for fun metal. Again, of a more electronic intrusion. This song takes on a different flavor, again, with a synth application, but it's in the background. So you compare the mainstay element, I've acknowledged this many times with Sweden, in the metal foray, and I'm somebody that, was admittedly, I was a bit judgmental when it came to electronic intrusion, right? Because I don't necessarily favor something of an EDM type beat in isolation. It has to have a sort of musical foundation, something a little more melodic in presence. It just can't be electronic directly, because then it just feels, again, a bit distorted and distracting and without character or atmosphere. Sweden, I have found a perfect balance between, again, bringing in that electronic emphasis but not losing that musical foundation, right? Keeping it in tandem and making each work in association to the other, creating a united piece that sounds even more artistic on delivery. You compare other mainstay groups that we've familiarized on the channel, right? In terms of first introductions, perhaps, or maybe names that were familiar to me. But this is much more rock dominant. It's interesting to see, again, how this intrudes, but it's a bit contrasting from the other artists in that it's a little more suppressed. Maybe there's other pieces we haven't humored yet with Dynasty that depart and take it into that mainstream Swedish metal with electronic flair presence. We'll see together. Of course, as I said, more incoming for Dynasty. This is not the end of a journey. We have many more to humor together, and I can't wait for the evolution of presenting them. I'm loving the ride thus far. 4 tracks in now. FIRESIGN is quite strong on a musical delivery. I love the intermixing between different key choices. Nils' vocals. I love that reach at the end. It's always something I favor, but again, he can get pretty high. And I love how masculine his voice is. Like, it's just so strong on delivery. It's perfectly executed where it doesn't feel like, I mean, it still feels like he's kind of straining, but it's so natural, right? But it just doesn't lose like that classic rock and roll type flair or rock and roll metal. I said before, Nils single-handedly carries this nostalgic effect with him when you listen to his voice, or just even see him in presentation. He just reminds you of like years, in the foundation of metal, right? Or what's perceived of that, broadly speaking, namely, at least for me, like American metal. But there's just a connection of him that, oh, I love humor in his voice. He's become one of the signature presences in my playlist, especially on frequent replays. I can't get enough of entertaining him. FIRESIGN is another great piece. Again, though, I was saying that just the fascinating thing is seeing how this departs a bit from other Swedish mainstays, right? Even Amaranth, which is much more electronic dominant. This puts hard rock and power metal riffs at center stage. It's more of like a hard rock nature to this song. It really has that vibe, but that's what's central here. I like that. And the electronic is more of a background accessory that still feels united to the work for sure, but it's limited. I like that approach. Good navigation, fun line work, great broad appeal too in the lyrics. Definitely carries on a bit of like an inspirational energy, at least in the way that I read through it. And though maybe you see it differently, Music is a subjective experience, right? We can all probably speak to that. Great syncopation and pacing as well in the lyrics, especially in the pre-chorus sections. I did note that. That was great. Wonderful ideas here with that song. A lot of ambition, good drive. Another fabulous experience with them, as every Dynasty piece has been thus far. I told you going in, enough promise on just Nils' regard as a connection point, but European metal speak for itself and how good it is. I can't get enough of that scene. Many of you understand why. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below, especially on experience. It just teaches you right there. I'd love to hear your thoughts down below on the piece, and from whatever angle you approach, right? Is Dynasty a new name to you? Are they familiarized? Do you advance me in terms of your familiarity? Feel free to disclose down below, whatever angle you approach. As I said, not the last time we'll humor Dynasty. More to come for sure, and I cannot wait to expand the journey, because FIRESIGN is another great installment. But we're going to, from what we have upcoming, we're going to get a perspective for Dynasty more so in the modern season. So, again, we dug back a bit to 2018. I think the next one goes into 2020, so it's a little more recent, right? It's a little closer to where we now sit with this band. But I'm excited to humor more. They're a great presence for sure. I'm looking forward to the opportunity. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.